Hello, everybody. This is Allan of Allan Walls Photography, and today we're going to be talking to Novoflex in Germany. When Robert Thompson first told me that I may be able to get an interview with Martin Grahl over at Novoflex in Memmingen, Germany, I did not hold out hopes that that would happen because I figured he would see some of the jokes that I've made about his company and decide that that was probably not a place he wanted to spend any time. But apparently that didn't bother him, and he agreed. So today I spoke to Martin Grahl and his lead photographer, Andreas Marx, in Germany about their products and their company and their attitude and their future. And we had a very pleasant conversation. I learned a lot. And if you stick around to the end of the conversation, you're going to learn about a discount on anything you want to buy from Novoflex. So if you're in the market for something blue and gray, be sure to jot down that code because you're going to need it. So let's get straight into the conversation. Here are Martin Grahl and Andreas Marx talking to me from Memmingen, Germany. I am now sitting down with two of the lead figures at Novoflex in Germany. I'm here with Martin Grahl and Andreas Marx. Mr. Marx, Mr. Grahl, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're
afternoon
good.
there, isn't it?
Exactly. It's 4:00 in the afternoon here in Germany.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just 9 o'clock in the morning here. We're just getting started. And I am delighted to finally make your acquaintance. I've seen your videos and I've studied a fair amount about your company in the past. But I must say that like so many people in our market, I have been under some misapprehensions about Novoflex and what you do and what space you fill in the market. And when I was given the opportunity to talk to you, I jumped at it because who better to set the record straight than the two of you? So can we jump right in and maybe talk just a little bit about the company, Novoflex, where you came from, how long you've been at this?
Absolutely. Our company just turned 75 years old this year. Our company was founded back in 1948 by a local Memmingen photographer named Karl Müller. And he began making mirror boxes for the rangefinder cameras of the days, so namely Leica and Contax. I have one of these mirror boxes here. That's actually the first model that has been released.
Lovely.
You can just switch the camera so your viewers can see this a little bit better. This first model was named Reproflex back then, but very soon the company got renamed to Novoflex and began making all kinds of macro accessories, namely bellows and focusing rails, but not only under the Novoflex brand. By the mid-1950s, Novoflex began making cooperations with other companies and began as an OEM manufacturers for companies like Hasselblad, Minolta, and Rolly. So really? A lot of their bellows were actually being built in Memmingen and not at their respective factories.
I did not know that. That explains some of the design aesthetic that they developed.
Exactly, namely the hollow rods that we still use today to accept accessories such as slide copy devices and the like. By far the most popular Novoflex product from back in the days was the follow focus lens. I have one of the follow focus lenses here. What is so unique about the follow focus lens is the fact that when you want to focus the lens, you just depress the rear handle, and that's how you focus the lens instead of rotating a focusing helix. And this technique enabled photographers to actually take photos of fast-moving subjects, such as animals. They would use it in sports and
Was it
similar subjects.
was it used at all in motion pictures or in video?
Well, you could also attach it to like the movie cameras of the days, like the Reflexes and the
Hmm.
Bollios and different models. But in most cases, people would attach it to still cameras like the Nikons and Contexes and Rolleis and
I
Mamiyas and
I
what.
have to get one just as a conversation piece. It has to.
Well, but be careful if you want to travel on a plane. Don't even give it a try.
Right.
After that, we also made macro flashes, a cold light source with articulating arms, with building optical fibers.
What was the draw to macro? Why did you see a space in the macro market? Because Nikon was big in macro back then.
Well, it was actually the founder, Carl Müller, he was an avid nature lover and avid photographer, and he was very into photographing the small things.
Excellent.
And our chief designer back then, a man named Ferdinand Kellner, was also very interested in macro and close-up photography. So it was these two leading people that drove our company into this niche market.
Yeah. Well, we are
Mhm.
so glad that something drove you into this niche market, because otherwise it would be a barren place right now. It seems like all the big
Exactly.
companies have just walked away from it. How long have you had a presence outside of Europe? I mean, a global presence. Has that been all along?
Well, pretty much. Speaking of the US market, Novoflex began working with a local distributor as early as 1954.
Oh, wow.
So back in 1996, there was a change of ownership.
Hmm.
The company was sold to the present owners. The present owner is our Reinhard and Michael Hiesinger. And Reinhard started working for Novoflex back in 1996, and he bought the company from Carl Müller. And all the products that you see today, all the gray and blue finished products, are mainly products that have been developed since 1996. So products like the Magic Ball,
Hmm.
the modular tripod system, the universal bellows have been developed since 1996. So the change in color scheme came with the change in ownership.
That's interesting, because one of the questions that has come up time and again in our conversations during live streams has been, is Novoflex primarily a design company that makes photographic equipment on the side, or are you a photographic equipment company with a very solid design sensibility? And where does this come in? Because your equipment looks so good
Well,
individually and together.
we're actually the latter. We're actually the latter. And the decision to change the color scheme came with the change of ownership, as I mentioned earlier. And we wanted to, stand out of the many products that were out there. And most of these products are, well, back in 1996 at least, were just black or gray, and we
Yeah,
wanted
it's
to
filler.
just stand out. So, for example, in tests and magazines, where you would see like a line of 10 ball heads standing there, our magic ball or our classic ball would be instantly recognizable because of its finish.
Still is. Still is.
Exactly.
Yes, but beyond of that, I think it's extremely important for us that anything is photography working perfect.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
we do a lot of testing and developing, and especially also in my studio I use all these products every day, and anytime I find something that we can do better, we discuss that, and if it's possible to change something or to improve something, we do it.
I have seen your work, Mr. Marx, and it is outstanding. And it certainly is
you.
a testament to the quality of the instrumentation as well as your skill. Have you been with the company a long time, sir?
Yes, since the mid-90s.
Andreas was always responsible for taking our product photographs, even when he was not actually working for the company.
I see.
But back in 2012, he joined the company full time and is now our staff photographer and our head of the technical department. So he's the one we turn to when there's any technical issues or glitches or questions from customers, and he's the one to actually see and check if the customer has a real problem or if he's just not having read the user manual.
Exactly, yeah, right, which is 90%, I'm sure, the problem.
Yes.
Well, it's very commendable that your company relies on a professional photographer for such important input into design, and I feel that some companies just don't do that, and it's always a surprise to the photographer what you end up with. But the question that most people will ask me about Novoflex now is how can we justify the expense of the equipment?
Well, I think there's a lot of cheap lookalikes like stuff that people like to compare to Novoflex, and but when you really look at the engineering, at the materials, and the manufacturing quality of our products, I'd say the comparison is not apples to apples.
Yes.
That's mainly what we have to say to the fact that our company is commonly associated with, well, expensive or overpriced products.
It is patently unfair, since learning about your products from Robert in Ireland. Robert and I have worked together in the last few weeks doing some stuff together, and we'll be doing more. And he is a very enthusiastic fan of Novoflex, and he uses entirely Novoflex gear. And it is absolutely stunning. And I've had an opportunity to look firsthand at a lot of the equipment, and it really is unique in how well it's made. And certainly you're right about the competition. There's a lot of lookalike stuff, but the materials that you use and the equipment that you turn out looks handmade. How big is your factory, and what does the production line look like that produces something that looks like it comes from the space shuttle? How do you do that?
Well, we're a very small company. Our company has 35 employees currently, so we're actually a very small company.
Really?
And yes, and I'd say like 70 to 80% is handmade things that we make. And as I pointed out in one of my emails before we decided on doing this interview, we make our products sequentially.
Yes.
We have like well over like 550 SKUs in our price list. And in order to keep stock of each of these products, which are necessary to keep up the building blocks concept that we're known for, we can only follow this sequential approach of producing products, which eventually could also lead to some back orders for certain products.
Yes.
I hope this explains the situation a little.
It does, because I don't think you weren't aware of the fact that I was going to talk about this. And since we started talking about Novoflex equipment, a lot of people have decided that's the direction I want to go and have placed orders. But they're not available right now. The rails are not available in the US market from anybody, apparently. And that was what prompted my question to you. And you did explain that you have this sequential production. Is that a fixed thing that you set on the calendar for each year, that you're going to do tripods in January and rails in March? How does that work?
Well, it's not actually that fixed. What we do is, of course, we analyze our sales numbers, of course, and depending on how many, let's say, bellows or rails or ball heads we sell, we organize our production to make sure that most, if not all, of the 550 SKUs are available off of our warehouse.
Do you have a system in place whereby you can divert product from one market to another in the case of a sudden interest in a particular item?
Well, that's quite difficult, because the moment we've sold the product to one of our distributors, to one of our global distributors, we don't have access to this product anymore. We can't ask, for example, our US distributor to sell a certain product, let's say to Japan or Korea or wherever. That's not possible.
Well, that's a very important distinction then. So is that true of all of Novoflex products, that once they leave your factory, they are going to a distributor? They're not going to a Novoflex outlet or a warehouse. They're going to an intermediary.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And once that happens, you lose control of where that product is and where it's available. So it's really B&H or the Mac group that is responsible for filling the orders then.
Exactly. As for the US market, it is Mac Group USA who's responsible for all the marketing measures, for all the sales within the 50 US states.
I see. Is it then the Mac Group that would be responsible for messaging regarding the nature of the company and what you're doing in the market? Is that part of their responsibility to make you guys look good and to let the photography world know what you're doing, or is that something that
well, sort of. So it is they're the first contact for any US-based customer. But if a US-based customer has any technical questions that Mac Group can't answer, because they obviously are a distribution company and have like 20 or 25 companies to distribute within the US. If they can't answer a certain topic, people are welcome to shoot us an email, to give us a call, and we are more than happy to answer all the questions regarding to Novoflex products.
Yeah.
Do you sell Novoflex products out of your home office?
Well, we do it here in Germany and the EU. So EU customers can place an order with us or one of our distributors. We have to, because of EU laws, of course, but we're not selling to US customers from our factory. That's all being handled by Mac Group USA.
Okay. That was my understanding. It just seemed like an obvious fix if there was an issue with getting their hands on stuff in the US, but clearly not. Do you know if your European distributors sell outside of the EU?
Well,
or are they not supposed to?
They're not supposed to, but I can tell if some of them are doing it or not, but they're not supposed to.
Okay, very good. Well, we certainly don't want to create any problems for anybody, but it's I'm just trying to figure out what the best way to go is. It looks like we need to be patient, is what it is. Does the fact that you have the Mac Group acting as your distributor within the US, does that impact the pricing of any of your products, do you think? Or
well, it certainly does, and even more so in all the countries that we have distributors in, because there is additional expenses involved, such as shipping, taxes, import duties, marketing, handling, etc., etc.
Yes.
And all of our distributors have to deal with these costs in order to make a product successful. And of course, this increases the price, apparently. Yeah.
Why does it appear to not be a uniform effect over all of your product line? You have very reasonable prices on some of your very high-end equipment, especially I'm thinking your tripods. Highly competitive pricing, and the difference between the US price and the European price is minimal, negligible. Yet with the rail, for example, the M or the micro, there's a big difference, over $1,000 difference.
Well, that is certainly true, but there's certain products in our portfolio that you mentioned that command a different kind of marketing, that command a different kind of expertise in the background to actually sell the product. And so that's, well, one of the reasons that there's some differences between certain lines of products.
It's just more expensive to market and sell than some others that sell themselves.
Yeah. Because, for example, the Castell Micro, to actually sell a Castell Micro usually involves an elongated email exchange with the customer to actually answer all the questions he has and all the topics he can come up with, or well, they are so diverse to actually find an answer. And in some cases, we even do a live video chat with the customer to explain or to find an answer for his for the intricacies of the focus stacking technique.
Definitely. No, I understand. And if I was go ahead, sir.
Yes, and also especially Castell Micro took us several years of development and much money, much more than any other product we have. So this might also be a reason that this is a little more expensive than other products we have.
Exactly.
I certainly understand and appreciate that. I might not have done until I had my hands on the equipment, but it is in a league by itself. And I'm looking forward to actually having an opportunity to look at the M, which is something I'd really like to talk to you about. How did you come up with a manual 20 micron stepping device? It seems rather improbable. How did you solve that problem?
Do you want to answer that, or shall we?
Yes, I think we had the normal
manual rails
like Castell Q, which is very good, but not for too
high
magnification. Magnification. Then we developed the Castell Micro, which is very good, as you know, but a little expensive for some people. So we looked for something in between, which are more precision than a Castell Q, but less in price than a Castell M, Castell Micro. So this was the idea, and I think this is a good solution, but you have to sit nearby and make every step by hand. That's not so comfortable than the Castell Micro.
A lot of my audience are looking for just this solution because they like to do lower magnification out in nature, and this is perfect for slime molds and mushroom photography and other things that are not the type thing we do in the studio so much. And this is, I understand it is made on the same frame as the micro, just with the different mechanism on the back. Is it a system of gears, or is it a planetary gearbox that is used to reduce the distance, or is that secret?
Well, so you have the rear focus wheel, and the rear focus wheel is capable of providing click stops for different magnification factors.
Right.
And these magnification factors are preset by this blue lever here.
Okay.
So depending on the magnification that you have set, the focus wheel will click in different increments.
It must look like a watch in there.
It actually does. There's a lot of tiny balls and springs involved, and little holes that catch the tiny balls. So let's put it like this.
Okay, it'll remain secret then. We won't go any further into that. How long did it take from coming up with the idea to make a high precision manual rail to having one available to sell to a customer? How long was that period of time?
I'd say it was 1.5 to 2 years.
Yes.
Oh, really? Is that all?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that would take longer than that.
Well, it certainly took us longer for the Castell Micro to design and to develop, but for a manual rail like this,
we have a lot of experience doing that.
It's actually not that complicated for us, because we're doing focusing rails for 75 years now. So
True.
We have a certain level of expertise that comes into play when designing a new rail.
True, I understand. On the micro, I have a bunch of engineers that follow my channel, and they always have engineering questions. I'm going to ask this question. I don't think you'll answer it, but who makes the motor that you use in the micro that is so quiet and so precise and so fault-free? What kind of motor is it that you're using?
We get it from a company just nearby here, from the near of the Bodensee.
Constant. Yeah, it's a company that is located right next to us.
Oh, wow.
A couple of miles away.
We always look to have suppliers for things we don't do ourselves, that they are out of the region, if possible.
It is a 400 stepper motor. Is that approximately?
That's a very good question.
Yes, and it's a stepper motor as far as I know, but I don't know exactly how many increments it has, really.
Well, it's a minor point. I did some testing. Your rail is so much more accurate than my ability to measure that I wasn't able to get any useful data from it. How do you measure your accuracy? How do you do quality control with something this precise? Do you have a lab that you use, or do you do it locally, internally?
As for the Castell Micro, we don't do it internally. We rely on external labs.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Germany, we actually only find a few labs that were able to actually measure the 0.2 micron step size.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Properly. And
it's really difficult. Yes.
Yeah, we found a lab in, I think, the state of Rhineland-Pfalz, who was able to actually get us some test results, and they found out that in a sequence of 100 images taken, the Castell Micro is so precise that only 2 of the images out of the sequence of 100 images are slightly off. And they're so slightly off that it's not photographically relevant.
Yes. Well, certainly none of what I measured was photographically relevant, because there was so much noise in my measurement that I couldn't tell what was going on, but I could look at the photographs. And they were so comfortably within the ability of Zerine to correct their alignment that there were no issues at all. It really does improve the quality of images, which surprises me, having been a StackShot user for decades. You wouldn't think that just having a still, quiet-driven device like this would give you such a dramatic improvement in quality, but it does. Can we talk briefly about your tripod systems? People do not know that Novoflex makes a rival platform to Really Right Stuff or to Gitzo that is as good, if not better, and is available in this country, but we don't know about it.
Well, certainly by signing up to any of our webinars that we do monthly.
Yes.
That would be the first step. And secondly, by hopping onto YouTube, because last year we made a 15-minute long video explaining the concept behind the TrioPod system and all the different components it's composed of.
It was very good too.
Thank you very much. And thirdly, by reaching out to either you or to us or to our good friends at Mac Group USA. And speaking of the TrioPod system, it's a highly modular system. And as we came into the game of tripod manufacturers rather late, we had to decide how to differentiate our tripod system from the competition. And so we came up with the idea of swappable tripod legs. So we have a set of 5 different tripod spiders, differing in size and weight and load capacity. And so far, we've built up a system of 13 different tripod legs that are completely interchangeable. So depending on the task you want to achieve or you want to conquer, you can just swap the legs, being it carbon fiber legs or aluminum legs or mini macro legs or clamps, suction cups, whatever you can think of. All of these components work seamlessly together. So back in 2013, we came up with the first tripod spider, which we called the TrioPod. And like 2 or 3 years later, we introduced the second one, which we call the Trio Balance, which incorporates a leveling ball, because we had customer requests and customer feedback coming in asking to combine both products. So we already had a leveling head available as a separate unit, but we had customer feedback coming in asking us to combine both parts, to use in panorama photography, or if you want to use a gimbal head with a very long telephoto lens and stuff like that, you have to level your setup on top somehow. And
the double gimbal, is that is that something that is unique to your company?
I would say yes, absolutely.
Yes, some people asked us because they do photography and filming together.
Oh, I see.
So you have this with 2 cameras, one film and one photographic camera, and have the same spotted
same perspective.
Same perspective. Or on the other hand, you have one wide-angle camera and one telephoto lens, and so you are more flexible if, for example, animals come
very close.
Very close, yes.
So
there are different types of using of this.
Do they move independently, or are they fixed on an axis?
No,
they're fixed on an axis.
So you are always pointing at the same thing. Are they very accurate with a long lens?
Oh, they're very precise.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful piece of engineering. It really is. And that's something that I would also say was very competitively priced for something that complicated. I mean, that doesn't not look that expensive. What is your marketing strategy in the US? I think you may have already answered that. Is that something that the Mac Group is responsible for managing, or?
Well, it's certainly in the response of the Mac Group as our official distributor for the US market. But well, of course, our goal is to spread the word about Novoflex products as much as we can, and with the help of our webinars and with interviews like this that we are currently doing. And well, beyond that, people, please reach out to us if you have any questions. We're here to help.
Well, yes, I think it's important. As you heard, we are not so big company that we have millions to spend for advertising. So our idea is more to get directly to the people, to talk to the people, to have a very good service and all that. And that helps if people like you support us a little.
It certainly has been an eye-opener to have somebody like Robert, who is such a he has such a clear understanding of how the modular pieces of his entire rig fit together, that he's able to explain it so well to my audience that it certainly is, I would think, the best kind of advertising. But I don't see a presence very much on in print media, for example. I don't see magazine ads. Do you just not follow that?
Well, speaking of print ads, we're doing less print ads here in Germany since COVID. We're spending more of our money online. And speaking of the Mac Group, I don't think they do any print ads at all. They like to spend their money on trade shows where they can actually meet people, have people touch the product, play with the product. That's where they actually spend their money on. That's where we spend our money on these days.
You go to trade shows and represent the company?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the next trade show will take place in two weeks in the city of Hamburg. It's called Photopia.
Yes.
So if you happen to be in the area, just stop by and say hello.
Nothing would please me more, but I think the chances of me being in Hamburg in 2 weeks are small. Can you tell me what is that piece of equipment on the table right next to you, Herr Marx? Is that your
which one? This one? Yes, this is, as you know, the Castell Micro underneath. And this was an idea from me, from myself.
Rear bellows focus?
Yes, to put a bellows on there, which is the front stand is fixed and only the rear stand with the camera moves. And that's first of all made for product photography. By profession, I'm a still life photographer. I do many product photos. And I saw that focus taking also in this case is important now. But the problem is that some products, like a cooking pot is always a good example. They are too large for the normal length of the rail.
Right.
And with this technique, you get with a small movement in here, you get a larger depth on the product. Goes up to infinity if you want.
Do you have the ability to add a tilt shift function to that setup so that you can extend the depth of field a little further?
Yes, that's I tried that. I made prototypes here to try that. And my conclusion was, you can do that, but it makes all the things more complicated. And in the end, you get, for a product shot with this system, you need 10, 15, 20 shots. So if you make a tilt shift movement and get 3 shots less,
Yeah.
that's not the problem. You take more time to exactly adjust the tilt, then you
You're
be quicker
absolutely right.
with
That
this.
makes perfect sense. I never thought of that all you're really doing is saving 3 or 4 shots, and it's not even like
Yes.
shooting film. So
No, that's it. And so it would be possible, but I think tilt is not so useful. What you can do, what we also have, is a shift adapter. So sometimes for products you need a special perspective.
yes.
So you need a little shift, and that works without problems with any cameras up to
35 millimeters.
35 millimeters. The shift adapter is limited on
So it
these
doesn't work for the
cameras.
medium format cameras?
Yes, not now. Maybe we have sometimes one, but it's not actually in planning. But I love the Fuji GFX, so
Well, that's
I have to talk to our.
I have been trying to talk to Fuji myself because I would love to try that camera. I have several of my students that use the GFX system, and it is beautiful. It's
Yes.
a lovely camera. Let me ask, I see that we are already, I cannot believe we have used up most of our time, but I would love to know, what are you working on? What is next for Novoflex? What can we look forward to?
Castell M has just been introduced into the market back in May and has since received a lot of positive feedback. And hopefully you will get your hands onto a model quite soon. And beyond that, we have many ideas that mess around in our heads. And last year, we have acquired a German manufacturer of LED lights, a company called Hedler. And we have, or we are working on producing a macro light, a light for lighting very tiny scenes. Again,
Continuous lighting?
already.
Continuous LED lighting.
Continuous LED
Yes.
lighting. That's a product that is in our heads and that is in development and will hopefully see the light of day very soon.
That is exciting stuff, because that is an area that needs innovation. It's hard to get good LED light into small places. That's very exciting. Anything else on the horizon?
Well, there's, as I mentioned, there's a lot of ideas messing around in our heads, and we have several projects we are working on, but it would be too soon to speak about them.
Fair enough. Well, I think we've got enough to be going on with as it is. We've got some catching up to do, because you have been making this stuff for a long time, and it's. I was showing somebody the other day that even your quick release plates are works of art. I don't know how a company can make a piece of aluminum this size look so special and function so well. So we're gonna have to get some homework done. When is the next time that you will be in the United States for a trade show? Do you have a schedule for a visit?
Well, I have been in the US in May, and I did attend the Nightscaper conference in Kanab, Utah. But I don't have any trade shows planned for this year, but I will certainly come to the US next year. That's for sure.
We will certainly look you up, and you're certainly welcome to come here, but I wouldn't come in the summer if I was you. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate all of the great feedback, and I think we have a better understanding now of where the company's coming from, and I know that my audience is ready to start using some of this equipment. So we're going to be seeing a lot more blue and gray in the future.
Well, thanks for having us. Thanks for inviting us. Thanks for giving us the chance to speak of our products. And we have a little goodie for your audience.
Please.
So if people want to get a little discount on any Novoflex purchase at novoflexus.com, there is a discount code. It's AW7. So for Allan Wall 7, AW7.
Okay.
People should enter this during checkout, and they will get a 7% discount on any purchase they make through October 14th.
That is very generous. Thank you so much for doing that for
You're
my
very
audience.
welcome. And if your audience is interested, just click at the mail icon at the top right side, and you will receive our e-news, which is intended for US customers.
Yes, I have actually distributed that in my video description the last time we talked about this. So hopefully people will be in the know and will sign up for that. So thank you. I will get this word out to everybody today when I release this video, and I'm very grateful to your time. I understand how time must be a commodity for you with such a busy company. But thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, and I look forward to talking to you again.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. This is Allan. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. There were a couple of points that weren't completely made because of the flow of the conversation. Before this meeting, I gave Martin a list of questions that I intended to ask. And some of those I got answered before the event, and they weren't asked during the event. Others were asked and partially answered, and some weren't answered at all because they didn't fit into the flow of the conversation. But Martin has provided me with written answers to those particular questions, and as a courtesy to him, and out of respect for the time it took him to put that together, I am going to summarize his responses to those questions that were only partially completed. And this won't take but a few minutes, and it's just some important points that probably need to be emphasized anyway. The first one concerned the price discrepancy between the price of the Castell Micro rail in our communities in the US and what you can buy it for in Germany if you buy it direct from the manufacturer. And the bottom line was we need to compare apples to apples, and we cannot compare the price of a rail purchased in Germany from the manufacturer to a rail that has to be shipped, have duty and tax paid on it, warehoused, overland freighted, held by a retailer and sold to us. It's a different product by then. And the point was well taken. So we really shouldn't be comparing the two. The prices for the Castell Micro are different in every community that it's sold in. It all depends on what it costs for the distributor to get the device into your hands. He did make one other point as well, and that is if we were able to buy this directly from the manufacturer in Germany, we would have to have it shipped to the port. We would have to pay shipping, duty, taxes. We'd have to pay import taxes, storage on the other side, and shipping to the final location. And it would cost us about the same, if not more, than it costs for them to send them through the distributor. So there is really no advantage to be had. The next question was the one concerning the expense of the equipment. But this is just the bottom line expense, regardless of what country you're in. So I challenged Martin on the expense of the equipment, but by the time we got to the interview, I did not feel like asking that question because I think I understood exactly why this equipment is more expensive, and I felt a bit foolish asking, but I asked anyway. And the exasperated response I was expecting didn't come because he's a professional, and Martin patiently explained to me that Novoflex gear is more expensive because it is better. It is an investment. It's made with better materials, by better manufacturing techniques, in better factories, by better workers. The equipment is made to tighter tolerances and designed to last for as long as you need it to. It's designed to remain fully operational throughout its life and give consistent and high performance. And he summed up by saying that the best equipment often requires an investment, and he's absolutely right. I don't argue with any of those points. From what I've learned, the gear is harder to make, it's harder to ship, it's harder to store, it's harder to sell even, because selling these rails often involves a lot of intensive discussion with the buyer, and it gets expensive to sell a rail. So from what I've learned, the pricing is probably about as fair as you're going to find. I don't think that Novoflex is making massive profits from selling good rails for extraordinary rail prices. They're making extraordinary rails and selling them at fair prices. I asked about the lack of backlash, and I postulated that it may be because of some type of preloading or just tight tolerances, and I was corrected and told that yes, it was tight tolerances were part of the equation, that the machine parts were made to tight tolerance, but they pointed out that the software design was also a huge part of making sure that these devices didn't develop backlash. The other thing is they don't use any gearing in their motor-driven systems. So there is no gear train. There's nothing to wear out over time. There's nothing to develop hysteresis or backlash. And the end result is the device stays accurate throughout its life. I inquired, as many of you have, about the offset of the motor base. The motor hangs down below the base of the rail in such a way that it won't sit flat on the table. And the solution is, of course, to put it on a small board on the table, and then you can set it flat as you like. The primary reason they're able to keep the device operating at such a high level throughout its life is they avoid using any kind of gearing between the motor and the drive. So the lead screw itself is driven by the drive shaft. There is no gear to wear out. There is no gear to develop backlash. So basically you are driving, micro-stepping from the motor to the lead screw, which is a very fine pitch. So it really is designed from the ground up to be backlash free. Now, of course, nothing's backlash free, and there will be backlash on reversing direction, but none of it is going to have any impact on the photography that you do. The last question concerned calibration override. The thing wants to calibrate every time you re-energize the rail. It's a pain to do, especially if you're out in the field. And it is also desirable to turn off the system when you're out in the field between shots. Not between individual shots, but between stacks. Turn it off so you don't waste the batteries. But when you do, you have to turn it on and recalibrate, which probably burns up more of the batteries. There is no solution to it. You cannot override the calibration except by leaving the power on, which is great in the studio, not so great on the outside. So there's really nothing we can do about that. Buy some extra batteries. That would be the best bet. I would point out that in reading through these answers to the questions, there is nothing else that I found in the conversation that would have changed the way I felt about the conversation anyway. I think that the two gentlemen I talked to are genuine. They're enthusiastic and passionate about what they do. They are honest and truthful about what they're telling us. And they truly do believe that this is the best equipment that you can buy, as do I. Before I go, there's one other point I'm going to emphasize. I asked a few times to be given some kind of contact information for you guys so that you could keep up with what Novoflex was doing. And you could find out when they were offering webinars, seminars, discounts, that type of thing. And the answer was given a couple of times, but I'm going to give it to you again. Go to their website, novoflexus.com. And when you're there, click on the envelope in the top right-hand corner. It will put you on the mailing list for the newsletter, and it will also get you notified when there is a webinar coming up, and they do these things once a month. It is at those events that you are likely to come across discount coupons that will save you some money if you're building out your modular system. I am very impressed with this company, with its people, with its products. And I sincerely hope I get to work with some more of their products over time. because I can only imagine how good they are based on how good this rail is. The Castell Micro has been a real pleasure to use. I've got some more videos coming up with it before you know it. In the meantime, I will be back with Macro Talk on Tuesday, if not sooner, with some video content. So I will talk to you again soon, and until then, take care and stay safe. Be well.